totally dating myself. I'm gonna just put it out there. I mean, I got the gray hairs to prove it, so there's no hiding the fact that I've been around for a minute. This story proves it because I have been a copywriter on and off for 25 years. My gosh, it just makes me sound like where's my Ovaltine and yelling at kids to stay off my lawn. But anyway, it's important because, like, if you're an expert, you need to hear what I'm about to tell you because I promise you, 9 times out of 10, this is what gets experts stuck in telling their story, positioning this in themselves out in the marketplace. Okay, so we've established that I'm old. I'm an old man. My first job out of college was working for a really cool, hip ad agency. Oh my gosh, I just said hip. Like you could totally, I totally feel so old now. Don't judge me. Anyway, but I worked at this job right at college back when radio was like still really, really popular. I guess it is in some circles, but for the most part, we've got podcasts and streaming and all that stuff. YouTube. Anyway, and I was writing these radio commercials. And out of college, as a young copywriter, I wanted to do all of this fancy dancy advertising, all of these brand campaigns. But my job was to write a radio spot, getting people to go to a tire store and go buy new tires. Like, how sexy is that? But that was the job. And so I wrote this radio spot, and the mature copywriter that I was working with and learning from looked at it and what I wrote and just kind of threw it away and then had me rewrite it 10,000 times until finally he just wrote it correctly and showed me what he did. And I remembered reading what he wrote for this commercial for this tire company. People, you need new tires, you go down to your local tire store. That was the whole point of the commercial. I remember reading it and I thought, this is so friggin' boring. Boring. Like there was no razzmatazz, no cleverness, no all of this stuff that I wanted to do. And he finally said as much to him. He said, look, what you say matters more than how you say it, which is actually a quote from David Ogilvy, the guru of advertising. What you say matters more than how clever or how well you say it. And the commercial that he gave back to me for this tire company was super clear. If you're riding around with bad tires, you're going to have an accident, this and that. Come down to this tire company today. We'll set you up. We've got 25% off all of these new tires. We'll get you back on the road in no time flat. Here's the address. Here's the phone number. Boom, boom, boom. Simple, clear, effective. Now, why am I telling you this story? Well, if you are an expert, and that's who I get to work with inside a band of misfits, independent experts like consultants and coaches, you got to tell your story. You got to tell your story on your LinkedIn profile. You got to tell your story in your content. You got to tell your story on your website. And what I see over and over again from experts is that they didn't get schooled like I got schooled by that senior level copywriter 25 years ago on how important it is. It's more important about what you say than how you say it. Because we all want to sound clever and interesting and provocative and this and that, right? That's the culture that we swim in. But when it comes to selling our own expertise, what we really want to do is just say what we do and who we do it for and why it matters as simply as possible. That's it. Until you can say it simple, you can't say it clever. And you may never need to say it clever because most of the time, 99% of the time, candidly, the people who hire us, they just have a problem that they need solved that only an expert like you or I could solve. They don't care about clever. They want to know, what do you do? Who do you do it for? Why does it matter? What's the impact? That's it. So last year I was doing a retreat with a consulting client, and we were actually in this little room inside of a library. It was kind of quaint to be back into a library again. I love books. I love the smell of an old book. Anyway, so we were in this conference room in a library, and my client was having the same trouble that you probably have sometimes, which is you want to be fancy and clever and all of these things about what you do, but you just need to say it simply. So finally, I was like, look, guys, you're going to write down what you do, who you do it for, why it matters, why it works, as simple as possible. And then you're going to go out, you're going to march outside, you're going to grab that nice librarian. I waved to her from the conference room. She waved back. And if she doesn't understand what you do instantly and who you do it for and why it matters, then you're being too clever. So that's my invitation to you. I call it the librarian test. Write down what you do, who you do it for, why it matters, examples of results. And if you go to your local library and hand that piece of paper over to the librarian and say, read this and tell me if you know what I do, who I do it for, why it matters, and here's some of my results. If that's not an instantaneous, hell yes, I get it from the librarian, you're being clever, but you're not being clear. Clear is persuasive. Clever is confusing. Oh, I did all kinds of things in this video. We talked about copy, we talked about positioning, we talked about the points, the importance of being clear and pushing ourselves to be clear instead of being clever. And I got to age myself all in one video. Oh, stick around. There's more telling on myself and ideas to help you grow your expert-led business. I'll see you next time.